Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and today we'll be doing our EU4 1.30 starting moves guide for the Mamluks. In this guide we'll be going over the achievements, estates and economy, diplomacy and rivals, war preparations and early wars, war against the Ottomans, your missions and expansion paths, as well as the ideas you should be going for. Before we start the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, commented, as well as subscribed and leave the bell button on. If we can get this video to 800 likes, I'm gonna do a giveaway for an EU4 DLC or the base game. We've actually gotten to 25% subscribers, so thank you guys so much. If you do enjoy my videos, it would really mean the world to me if you subscribe. It would help me out so much. There is one really awesome achievement you can get as the Mamluks, namely the Levant Turnabout, which as the Mamluks you need to have 100% army professionalism and annex the Ottomans. The first thing we're gonna do is summon the Diet and go for whichever agenda best suits us. I was lucky enough to get a vassalization CB against Dul Qadir, but you're not gonna get this for sure. I'm just cool like that. Next up, we're gonna seize land to get rid of the negative modifiers from the crownlands and to get some extra crownlands ourselves. And the privileges we're gonna give the emirs are supremacy over the crown, monopoly on livestock and gemstones, as well as the strong duchies, which is gonna give us a -10 liberty desire in subjects and +2 diplo relation slot, which means that we can have 6 diplomatic relations now. Do remember that you start off with Hejaz and Fadl as your 2 initial vassals, so getting this privilege is gonna help you out a lot in the future, especially since you can get a lot more vassals than that. For the ulema or the clergy, whatever you want to call it, we're gonna give oversight by the ulema, and for the merchants guild we're gonna give the monopoly on textiles, monopoly on paper, as well as the private trade fleet. For the dhimmis, we're just gonna give the promote the local dhimmi nobility, which is actually gonna give us 1 more leader without upkeep, so we can actually have 3 generals or admirals at the same time. The Mamluks economy is extremely strong at the very start, and we start off in one of the strongest nodes, namely the Alexandria trade node. Getting 100 mercantilism later down the road means that from this trade node we can pretty much cut off trade going into Europe from Asia, especially since we can control easily both of the trade nodes in Aleppo and Alexandria. You have 3 merchants at the very start because you're awesome, and you want to keep one of them in Aleppo as you start off, another one in the Gulf of Aden, and the third one that we have in Ethiopia transferring trade power, we're going to be switching him over to the Constantinople trade node to collect once we do our first conquests in the region. The Mamluks get insanely high amounts of money from taxation as well, so you're definitely not going to be having any problems with your finances at the start or at any point within the game. When discussing rivals, you're always going to have the Ottomans and Karakoyunlu as available rivals, and for your third option you're always going to be choosing between either Aragon and the Timurids. Now you really would like to be choosing the Timurids, especially since you can support the independence of Transoxiana and you can really mess with them early on, but by the time you reach these lands there's a high enough chance that the Timurids are just going to collapse by themselves, so you don't need to stress about that part. We're actually going to rival the Aragonese, seeing as they're going to be in a PU with the Castilians soon, so we don't need to worry about that, and if they do get into a PU we're going to get some power projection for free. When discussing alliances, we have a lot of alliance options, but I do recommend a couple of alliances above everything else. First off, I recommend allying Akkoyunlu simply because the Turkish always ally Akkoyunlu, and we want to make sure that we get them as an ally before the Turks do. And a second good option is actually the Karaman. I'd suggest getting both of these as your early allies, as you will need to go to war with the Turks very shortly and you're going to need some support against them, or at least you don't want them to join against you. Do remember that all the allies that we get at the start we're going to be dropping very fast because we don't want to waste our diplo relation slots with them when we are the biggest nation in the area here. One thing you should know about the Mamluks is that they have a lot of options for vassalizations. It's insane how many nations we can vassalize from the very beginning, but don't get carried away because we really should prioritize a couple of nations from all of these. You do start off guaranteeing the independence of Cyprus, and if you get some good relations with the Cypriots then you're actually going to be able to get them as a vassal from an event, so make sure you get the good relations and you can get a free vassal right there as well. And you also are guaranteeing the independence of Medina. What I do recommend is actually making them become a vassal also, since you want to connect these two lands here with the other vassal they have to the south of Medina, namely Hejaz. Aniza would become your vassal, as would Shamar, but don't, because they're very small and it's not worth wasting the Diplo relation slot. In fact, you should be attacking these two nations early on in the game and just taking them out before they even get a chance to breathe. I've seen a lot of people trying the tactic with vassalizing Ramazan and then feeding them the Turkish lands. It is a strong vassal to get, so if you want to go for this, go for it. Do remember that you have only 6 Diplo relation slots together with the privileged strong duchies, so you can choose 2 more vassals or 2 allies. So at the start, I recommend going for Akoyunlu as an ally, and if you really want to get the Ramazani as a vassal, that you should drop the alliance with Karaman and go for an alliance with Ramazan, which eventually is going to turn into a vassalization. The Mamluks start off with a special Mamluks government, which gives you some awesome modifiers such as max promoted cultures +3, monarch admin skill +2, cost of advisors with the ruler's culture -25%, and remember that this is stackable, so you can get some super cheap advisors. Promote culture cost -50% and governing capacity +50. It does not allow consorts or heirs, and it enables the Mamluks culture ability and foreign slave rulers. What this means is that whenever your ruler dies, in our case here, whenever Jakmak Burji dies, we're gonna get an option to choose between a few different rulers from either our culture, which is Circassian, because the Mamluks originally were slaves or soldier slaves from the neighboring parts. So once you get a new heir, you get a chance of choosing between your own culture, namely Circassian, or another accepted culture. Do remember to accept the Bedouin culture that you start off with. It only costs half the price because of the government type, and you still have 3 more slots for 3 more cultures to add later on. And depending on how much of a percentage that particular culture has within your country, you're gonna get a minus to your legitimacy. So for example, if you get an Egyptian ruler, you're gonna get 50% legitimacy, but you can use these special abilities, namely promote your culture in the government that gives you all power cost -5%, sell off slaves of your own culture and you get cash from that, or recruit them into your army and you get manpower from that. So if you have Egyptian as the ruler's culture, then you're gonna get massive boosts from these 3. So in order to get ready for the war, we're going to be transferring 1 infantry unit to this army. So we have 9-3, 9-3, and recruit 2 more infantry here. So it's again 9-3. We want to have 12,000 units because we have 12 transports at the start. And we also want to recruit 5 galleys. Do not go for heavy ships. I know you can get heavy ships, but heavy ships take 2 years to build and you have 1 year available to you. And galleys take 1 year. Now our first target is actually going to be the Byzantines on the 11th of December. We want to vassalize the Byzantines and use their cores to take back all of their lands so that we can split the Ottomans in half, thus cutting their access to the Balkans and weakening them considerably. Whilst at the same time, we're going to start getting claims on Dulkadir so that we can make a wedge into the northern part here as well. I also recommend dropping the guarantee on Cyprus so that you don't waste your relation slot and that you can have 1 more relation slot available for another ally or vassal. And you can improve relations with the Cypriots, as it doesn't require for the event that you proclaim guarantee them, it just requires that you have high relations with them. I also recommend recruiting the Free Company, but before you recruit it, you should wait for a while. Since you have enough troops to deal with the Byzantines, it's best to recruit this after you've vassalized the Byzantines and you're getting ready for the war with the Ottomans. 90% of the times, the Byzantines are not going to have any allies except their vassal here, Athens, and you don't need to worry about a coalition because they're an Orthodox nation, which nobody cares about, so just declare on them. Don't stress about the -2 stab, you can get it back. And we're going to use our fleet to start transferring our army. Make sure you get a general as well, and let's go for the fort in Constantinople first. Don't forget to also embargo the Ottomans to get some extra power projection. Whatever troops the Byzantines might have will definitely be split between the Byzantine holdings and the southern Greek ones, so it's going to be a super easy fight against them. It's not even funny. Once your troops have landed on Constantinople, send the secondary army down to either Athens or Morea so we can start sieging the forts there. Whilst all of this is happening, don't forget to improve relations by using the influence interaction, sending gifts as well as alliance and royal marriages, proclaim guarantee, or offer military access. All of these improve your relations relations much faster than manually improving relations with them, and you can get it up to 190 super fast, thus getting your vassals early on and getting your diplomats back to use somewhere else. As previously explained, once your ruler dies, you're going to get the Mamluk succession, which is going to give you the option of choosing between a candidate from each of the accepted culture groups in your primary culture group. As such, we have one from the Egyptian, one from the Syrian, Bedouin, and Circassian groups. You're always going to have Circassian even though it's not accepted because it is part of the Mamluk culture. At the end of the day, it is Circassian that established the Mamluks Sultanate. If we go for the Egyptian one, since we have the majority of our culture Egyptian, we're going to have only 48 legitimacy, but we are going to go for him as he does offer the best government interactions. And as you can see, recruiting from Egyptian lands gives us 9,000 manpower and 356 ducats. So once we get 100 diplo culture progress or military culture progress, we're gonna get some serious boosts. Don't forget to bring the last of your armies as well and bring it to Morea. We want to keep our armies here since we are gonna attack the Ottomans exactly after we vassalize Byzantium. Be careful not to destroy the Byzantine fleets as we want to use these fleets for ourselves after we vassalize them. And also remember to boost your stability up whenever you get the points, as it does help a lot. In the peace treaty, make sure that you vassalize the Romans and take directly the province of Athens. It is going to be a bit of a diplo stab, but it's not a massive issue. And the best part is that after the war, we actually can give the province of Athens to Byzantium. Since they already have a core in it, it's going to lower their liberty desire and we don't need to core it anymore. You also can attack Epirus with the core that the Byzantines have, but before we do that, we're actually going to attack the Ottomans. Bring over the 5 galleys that you were building. Make sure you allow friendly fleets to attach. Now is also the moment to recruit the Free Company and bring on over the Free Company to Constantinople. We want to have 2 army groups individually, one attacking from Constantinople, the other one attacking from the south of Greece. Now we're ready to attack the Ottomans. Make sure you set the war goal for a province that you can easily get, such as Gelibolu or Salonik. Salonik most of the times is not even going to be maintained, like in our situation here. It is not maintained, so if we rush it, we actually can get it in time. Just need to make sure that we bring all of our troops at the same time. Fleet-wise, you should definitely not have any issues with that since you have the Byzantine fleet as well as your own fleet. Do ensure that you try and snipe over Kocaeli before they actually get a month's tick. And we were lucky enough to get Salonik before the month passed. Your main targets should be Salonik and Kocaeli, followed by Gelibolu and Edirne since we want to get the war score as fast as we can. It shouldn't be an issue though. We have more troops than the Ottomans, more manpower, and a much larger fleet as well. Do keep your army close together, however, as if you don't, the Ottomans will try to snipe it out whenever they can. If you are in a rush, your fleet is big enough to also order a naval barrage for 50 points, which is going to crush the walls of Gelibolu, but we already crushed them manually, so we don't need to worry about that. Getting a 1 siege pip general in the early game is almost mandatory nowadays, since it increases the speed of sieging down forts considerably. The Ottomans will try to siege you down as well. They will definitely go into Halab. If they eventually get to Al-Karak, it is a mountain fort and you can attack them as well in there. But by the time they get there, you should already have most of their forts. Once you get the war score to peace out the Ottomans, make sure that you demand all of the provinces that the Byzantines have except the province of Edirne, since it is the capital of the Ottoman Empire and we want to keep it as that. Whenever the truce expires, we will attack them again and we want to cut off this part from the rest of the Ottoman Empire. As such, we're going to be taking Ohrid so we can border the gold mine in Kosovo and attack the Serbians afterwards for Kosovo, and we're going to be taking Silistria as well so that we can release Bulgaria for our second war against the Ottomans to get all of these 7 cores they have on the Ottomans in the second war. Take all their cash as well so we can help them towards their greater goal of becoming bankrupt. You should also give the province of Ohrid to Byzantium as you do not directly border it and you're not going to be able to core it, but they can core it for you. So there we go. We're going to give Ohrid to them. They're going to core it for us and they have 0% liberty desire. We can even direct trade and they're still super loyal to us as we managed to reunite their nation before annexing it, of course. And the next war against the Ottomans, we're going to be taking this part here, and before that we're going to be attacking Dulkadir so we can get a nice land bridge and cut off the Ottomans completely from the rest of the world, and then slowly just munch on them whenever we get hungry a bit. Don't forget to use your cores on Epirus as well before you do integrate the Byzantines. And you also have more expansion paths now into Serbia, Wallachia if you wish to, even Albania. You should use the money that you took from the Ottomans to get the Defender of the Faith, as it is a tier 5 faith and it gives a lot of bonuses. Once you've finalized the vassalization of Medina, you're finishing your mission, the Holy Cities, through which you can directly inherit Medina if you choose the first option, and I highly recommend you do so, as you release one of your Diplo slots afterwards. When I say directly, I mean your best buddy Hejaz here inherits them, but it's the same thing as we're going to integrate them in 4 years anyway. This releases one more of our Diplo slots, so we can release the Bulgarians as another vassal and use them in the next war to take all of their cores back from the Ottomans. Also around this time you should be able to vassalize Ramazan, and remember that this is going to be our primary feeding farm here whenever we take provinces from Turkish lands. So after we've integrated Medina into Hejaz, we're going to get claims on this entire area, and we want to take all of these provinces as soon as possible so that we can boost our presence in the Gulf of Aden trade node, which basically brings in a lot of trade from the Indian parts of the world. Yemen also has the potential to be a strong enemy, so we want to take them out before they do become a strong enemy. When discussing the very small Mamluks mission tree, as you know, once you inherit Medina, your vassal, you're going to get the claims on Yemen, and then afterwards, after you have the provinces of Yemen, you're going to get for 20 years trade efficiency plus 10. If you embargo Venice and you have a marketplace in Alexandria, then you're going to get claims on the Syrian desert and the Tabuk area, and then once you take all of these provinces here, you're going to get more claims on the northern part, which you should have by then anyway. And after you've controlled the northern part, you're going to get claims into the Armenian sides and the Georgian sides. It's not a big mission tree, but it is definitely a mission tree. When it comes to your ideas, it really depends on whether you have more admin points or more military points first. You're almost guaranteed not to have Diplo points, since you will be integrating a lot of vassals, and that's going to pretty much drain out your Diplo points. So your first idea has to be either military or admin idea. If it is military, then I recommend going for offensive. You already have a large enough army, so getting offensive is going to give you the extra pips that you need, siege ability that's going to come in handy, as well as discipline to harden your troops. If you've got a lot of admin points lying around, then I recommend either going for economic ideas or religious ideas, depending on where you want to expand. If you want to expand into the Balkans and into the south, then you should go religious, as there's a lot of fetishist, Coptics, and Orthodox in these areas. Even going into the east, you're going to have to deal with the Shias, so you want to make sure you have the religious power for doing all of those conversions. Later on, after you do get your Diplo points, you should go for diplomatic ideas or for trade ideas based on whether you want to become a massive trade power, which is quite possible since you hold Alexandria and Aleppo, or if you want to have the vassal swarm, then diplomatic is best for you. Expansion paths wise, after you've secured your initial Byzantine holdings and basically just destroy the Ottomans here, make sure you attack Dul Qadir as well, and that you finish this off by taking the 3 provinces they have in the north. Also consider expanding into Fezzan and in the Tunisian area. Do remember that Fezzan is guaranteed by Tunis, so you will have to go into a war against Tunis, which a lot of the times allies the Ottomans. They didn't in my game, but they might in yours. If that's the case, that is an excellent chance to break the truce that you have early on with them without any stab hit. Also remember to expand into the Arabic Peninsula and into the east of Africa, as we want to get all of those gold mines that we have into the south here next to Ethiopia, as well as the gold mines in Kilwa and Mutapa later down the road. Securing these 2 gold mines early on, as well as the gold mine in Kosovo, is going to make you insanely strong economically, which is why going economic is a great idea, as you're going to need the yearly inflation reduction. Do remember to integrate Hejaz first, followed by Fadl to get a new relation slot. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like these, as well as leave the bell button on. And I want to thank my patrons. If you'd like to become one of my patrons, then check the link in the description. So until the next one, have a great day.